Hello everyone, myself Raj and welcome back to my channel. After a long time, I'm back with a new episode of Health Talks. This will be my Health Talks episode number 10 and I'm really excited because today I'm going to invite Dr. Tanmoy Dash. He is a senior consultant and head of the Department of Anesthesiology, Apollo Clinicals Hospitals, Kolkata. Yes, I'm really excited because he belongs from Bengal. And this pandemic time, we need right awareness about food habit, about nutrition, about lifestyle. It's very much important to spread the positivity. It's very much important to spread the right information, right knowledge among people to help them mentally and physically both. So that is why today, without wasting much time, let's bring him online and let's start today's Health Talks episode number 10, The Better Health with Dr. Tanmoy Dash. So here he
Yeah.
is, Dr. Tanmoy Dash with us, and I'm really excited
Mm.
to start this Health Talks episode number 10, The Better Health with him. So Tanmoy Dash, thank you so much for joining this and for accepting this invitation.
Thank you. Thank you, Shomik, for inviting me. A pleasure for me to meet a like-minded person and share my thoughts and my experience. So we can start right away without wasting much time. And
Sure.
I would like to say whatever I have to with a couple of slides, which
Definitely.
I'm going to start right now. This is the basic question I would like to ask, or rather, everybody asks themselves, are you as healthy as can be? Am I as healthy as I should be? So
Mhm.
before I start speaking, let me tell you, there are a few disclosures that I would like to make. That why me? Why is it that I have started telling I am basically a mainstream doctor, or rather a hardcore medical specialist dealing with critical care medicine and life-saving decisions every day,
Mm.
which is anesthesiology.
Mm.
And how is it that I have come to address? I come to talk about nutrition. It is because of a personal experience. There are two ways which people get into this thing actually. One is when they are hit personally, and one is somebody is really interested in do some research. For me, it was a personal experience which I will tell you briefly about.
Sure.
And moreover, then I got into the scientific evidence behind it. So for all these reasons, and later on, I do have some amount of not certification but affiliations, you could say,
Mm.
with some international organizations which you can see now.
Mm.
I do consult patients once in a while
Mm.
from these organizations, but I do not get any financial benefits from them.
Mm.
So these are my disclosures.
Mm.
Now, there are some disclaimers also.
Mm.
Whatever I tell you, mind you,
Mm.
is this is for your audience, that
Mhm.
this is for your information purpose only.
Mm.
And this is designed to help you to make informed decisions about your health,
Mm.
and it is not intended to serve as a substitute for medical advice.
Mm.
And you must work and consult and work with your doctor
Mm.
with this information to make
Mm.
any changes in your lifestyle,
Mm.
especially if you are on medication. Now, here is a peculiar problem. You might not find a doctor who is ready to listen to whatever you might try to work with him. So that is where this information will help. Whatever I tell you is very much a part of medical publications. Today or tomorrow it will come to the textbook, but everything is very slow in medical science. It takes a long time to change. So this information, if you take to your doctor, maybe he will listen to you, and whatever information you want, I'm ready to help you with. That is my purpose. Now, to tell you my story, this is how I used to look in 2009. I had put on a lot of weight, and actually more than what you can see in the picture.
Mhm.
But I don't want to share that. But what happened was, um, I was gradually putting on weight in spite of following what the doctors in mainstream medicine tell you. They tell you, um, eat moderately, exercise more, eat less of saturated fat, all
Mm.
those things which I was doing. Yet I was gaining weight. So I basically could not understand. And one day in 2000, end of 2011, I had put on a lot of weight, And one day what happened is that I just couldn't work. I felt very sick, palpitations, and then I discovered that my doctor told me I had a huge amount of blood pressure raised, that is. And then later on, investigations revealed that I was pre-diabetic, and so many other small problems were there. So basically, that was a turning point for me. So I decided, what should I do? Should I follow what these specialist doctors are telling me? So that I realized from seeing others that really doesn't help. For example, if you take medications for, I was pre-diabetic. So if you take medication for diabetes, is you start with one medicine, right? Then you go on to two medicines, then three, and then insulin. So throughout the years, your diabetes is actually getting worse. Your sugar may be controlled, but your diabetes is getting worse because you require more and more medicine. So
Right.
all these thoughts were bothering me. So that is when I thought, let me find out, go deep into the research. So since I have been trained as a doctor, I know how to go into the research. So I just dug in, and then I found out that this is not the only way to treat the metabolic diseases. There are other ways. So that is what I started. I'm going to tell you how. And it took me just a year or so to reduce the weight. And, you know, and that is how I looked just about a year later.
Great.
And I've been maintaining that since till today. And I will tell you, I have made a list of what all I gained from it. I lost nearly 30 kgs, and I'm still maintaining that.
Great.
I used to have bronchial asthma, I didn't tell you, and that just disappeared. My pre-diabetes got metabolized. My hypertension is almost gone. I'm almost off drugs. I used to have knee joint pains. I used to love running up the stairs, but that I could not do, and which I can do even now. I used to have hyperacidity. GERD means gastroesophageal
Gastroesophageal
reflux
reflux
disease.
disease. Yeah.
Yeah, which when you lie down, and it's a terrible thing, and that also disappears. My waist size went down nearly 10 inches, and more important than all these things is that my energy levels went up. I work minimum 12 to 16 hours a day, and most of the time on my toes. I do not do any organized exercise, but then that energy level has to be there to to do the kind of work that I do.
Right.
It is always on my toes, so that I felt much better, and there was no midday fatigue anymore. And the best part of it was, uh, uh, it was a complete freedom from even the thought of eating food. So that is something which I achieved much later, but these are the benefits which I got. So basically what I want to tell you is, as a species, the Homo sapiens, we belong to the Homo sapiens species, and we have become very, very sick. Throughout the world, we are struggling with diseases which were once very rare. And in most cases, we are losing the fight. Each year, more than 10 million people die from cancer. 1 million is 10 lakhs, mind you. And almost 20 million people die from heart disease around the world. Almost 500 million of us have diabetes. And another 50 million people globally have Alzheimer. Alzheimer is becoming a part of our country also. Now, if these numbers do not make any sense to you, just remember that 1 in every 10 person in India today is a diabetic, and 1 in every 7 person is a pre-diabetic. And the numbers, and if you take metabolic health into consideration, more than 80% of the population is metabolically unwell. And compare that, if today you might be thinking coronavirus is the biggest killer, but even the entire number of deaths from coronavirus today is less than 2% of the population. And look at that, the people dying from this lifestyle diseases are much, much more. So this is the pandemic, the silent pandemic, which we are not aware of.
Right.
So this
Right.
is what has
Very
happened.
true.
If we must look at our sickness from a very, very broad perspective. And whenever the modern medicine, or most of us think of people becoming sick, we think our thought goes back to a couple of 100 years only. but for millions of years is what we should look at. And if you see that most of the diseases that we suffer from today started after the invention of development of, or rather the discovery of agriculture. That is when we started eating food which our species are not meant to eat, I would say. So then what happened? First food came. For the first 8,000 to 9,000 years we were fine. I mean, we were fine till a couple of 100 years back. But then we started manipulating food chemically, that is processed food, genetically modified food. And then we started monocropping. We started spraying poison over food. So all these things, industrial culture, pesticide, hormones, all these things has led to a very artificial ambience and food that we live in, and that has made us very, very sick. So that is, I've given you this picture so that we take the entire thing into consideration. So today we know from Government of India data that lifestyle diseases are the biggest killer in the country today. And in addition to that, I will be very much focusing on obesity and fat, because that is the biggest, what do you call, an independent risk factor for the coronavirus pandemic.
Right.
Now,
right.
there is something known as a, you must have heard the word obesity, right?
Right.
But there is something known as overfat, which is a better definition of obesity. Now, overfat means just excess of harmful fat in the body. A person may not appear to be fat, like in foreign country, in the Western data, or in the Western countries, you will find people who are actually looking fat. But in our country, we have very lean and thin figures, but we may have a small pot belly,
Right.
or sometimes not even that. But so what happens, I will show you. So what is overfat? It is an accumulation of excess body fat that can impair health. And these can occur in those who are overweight, also in normal weight, non-obese individuals, due to excess abdominal fat. And this is what occurs in most people in our country. So they think they are healthy, but actually the fat is not throughout the body. Fat is in little bit in the abdomen, and mostly inside the abdomen, which is the viscera, we call it, the viscera. So this visceral fat, including fat in the liver, which is known as fatty liver. So that causes the real harm.
Basically, you're talking about the visceral adiposity, the bad fat.
Yes, the visceral adiposity actually is more dangerous than
the subcutaneous fat that we have.
The subcutaneous fat.
Yeah.
And because it is because of the type of multiplication that the fat cells undergo. The visceral fat is hyperplastic, means the number of fat cells remaining the same, they kind of swell up with fat. Whereas the subcutaneous fat is the visceral fat is hypertrophic, and the subcutaneous fat is hyperplastic. More number of cells. So that is slightly better, but both are equally or more or less harmful.
Right.
So what has happened is, this is a shocking realization. 76% of the world's population is overfat. Actually, this is a little bit of old data. This is from Philip Maffetone. And now the recent data which he updated last year says that more than 90% of the population is having this harmful fat, even if they don't look fat. So for the first time in the history of Homo sapiens, we have these fatty people exceed those who are normal and those who are underweight. So a very easy way to measure is to multiply your waist circumference, take your waist circumference and divide it by the height. So the ratio should be less than 0.5. For example, my waist today is 32 inches. Right. And my height is, I'm 5'6", not very tall. So 66 inches. So if I divide 32 by 66, I get 0.48. So it should be less than 0.5. So then you know that you don't have any fat in the abdomen. This is a very simple way anybody can measure. So if you have fat around your waist, mind you, you have harmful fat, and that will cause you damage. So this is I was telling you this, in developed countries, you know when people are fat, and only 20% of the people are non-obese, and fat. But in India, it is means 50-50, like
50-50.
40 and 40, half. So half of the people who are having harmful fat is thin. Actually, you will find many people, who are thin and just have a pot belly. So they think they are healthy, but actually they are not. And in children also, this is the alarming thing. It is occurring in children. So children nowadays, unfortunately, are exposed to a lot of artificial processed food and Western style of eating. So they also grow up having this. And this is very, very unfortunate. So, and this is just one of the reasons why this has happened. See, if you take a graph between 2000 and 2013, look at the amount of just sugar beverage which has gone up. There are many reasons why the overfat pandemic has happened. This is one of them. I'll tell you the reasons later on. Another very important thing which has changed in our country is the kind of fat that we eat. Now, the very word fat brings a lot of fear in our minds that fat is bad. That is because the medical science or the mainstream medicine has been harping about fat causing heart disease. Fat is bad for you. So that has caused a lot of damage. So one of the damages which has occurred is that it has affected our country also. So what has happened today is the Indian diets, you can see the highlightings which I've done, is predominantly vegetarian, most of the country. Thankfully not in our state, but throughout, if you take India as a whole, it is predominantly vegetarian. But what happens is that the sources of fat is a plant origin rather than animal origin. So this results in a diet which is relatively low in saturated fats, high in 6, this is omega-6 as it is called, and very low in omega-3. So actually it appears that it is good because the low fat has been advocated by the American guidelines, which our guidelines have also followed. And that is why the trickle down, it's a very long time. And mind you, this has been found to be wrong and has been also corrected in their guidelines, but that has not trickled down. It is because of some faulty studies that even today we are afraid of, eating the yellow of the eggs. So this is what has happened, and this is what this paper had to say, that many people who in India who do not get enough of healthy saturated fat in their diet, and the typical composition of Indian diet unfortunately has all the components that leads to a deleterious plasma lipid profile, a high carbohydrate, low fat diet of the poor, which is poor in saturated fatty acid, high in linoleic acid, and low in omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acid. So actually, even if it appears to be healthy, it does not explain this rapid increase in the obesity despite of a low fat and saturated fat intake. So we have to seriously reconsider that what has taken. So basically what has happened is, so I'll tell you about the fats. So just a thing I found yesterday only. So there are two types of fat. One is natural, one is man-made. So remember that whatever is natural is good for human beings. For millions of years, we have eaten fat and meat and other animal origins, but suddenly it cannot become bad just because it is man-made. So these man-made things like unsaturated fat, like polyunsaturated fat, like vegetable and seed oils are the most harmful. I'm sure, I think Mr. Iyengar discussed this with you.
Right.
And all these white oils, the safflower oils, the soybean oil, canola, peanut oils, these are actually, manufactured like petroleum products. The refinery, they are heated and deodorized,
industrial oils,
colored, and industrial oil. These are why I'm telling you is these are directly inflammatory.
Right.
I would include mustard oil, which we are all fond of, somewhere over here. So it has got some amount of omega-3. So, and if it is cold pressed, like if you get it from a kachi ghani, so that would be slightly better of the oils. But other than that, so what happened basically, where we went wrong was, so this is what the data is. While you go through the data, let me tell you what really went wrong with our country. What happened in the 80s, we've kind of, this guidelines influenced us, and you can ask me that we were always a carbohydrate eating country, rice eating country, like Japan, like Korea, all these Southeast Asian countries. So what went wrong? What went wrong is several things. One, this fat, I remember my grandmother cooking only in ghee and maybe a little bit of mustard oil. So we moved away from this protective effect of these fatty acids, of this of the healthy fats. We used to cook in ghee, which is perhaps the best cooking medium, other than coconut oil, of course. But this part of the country, we do not consume coconut oil. So ghee and butter and all these things is to protect us from the rice and the carbohydrates. And another thing was, the carbohydrates itself has changed. The rice which our grandfathers and fathers used to eat is not the same rice which we get today. These rice has been genetically modified, and they have a very high glycemic index. Means these rice today will raise your blood sugar much more than the rice which was available. Now we have very refined, genetically modified rices which you get in packets, and basmati has become a big fashion to eat, and this is actually nothing but sugar. It's as bad as sugar. So as a result of and then what happened was, we also started being influenced by nutritional guidelines, and our nutritionists told us, eat 3 meals and 3 snacks throughout the day. Even the diet charts which are handed out at hospitals have 3 meals and 3 snacks. So eating multiple times throughout the day. So, and of course, so we kind of moved away from the protection. We adapted a Western way of living, and we were living a very fast life, eating the way they do. So we kind of, it was a double whammy. The harmful effects of both got incorporated. So no wonder we became the largest the number of population which are suffering. So you can see this data, and look at this alarming. 1 in 5 women in India have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is against a world average of 1 in 10. So we are really a very, actually, if you have a close look, our population has become really very sick, which is very, very unfortunate. So this, this is the definition or the criteria for metabolic health. This was a study done in the US, and they found out that only 12% of the population is metabolically healthy. And I'm sure if such a study is done in India, it will be much less. It will be, I think 5% or even lesser people will be metabolically healthy if you look at these particular parameters. Now, as far as most people are concerned, the common people are concerned, if you ask them, which of the following is the major cause of these lifestyle diseases? Is it physical inactivity, that is lack of exercise? Is it smoking? Is it alcohol? So most people would think, what? You tell me.
Basically, they will always direct towards the physical inactivity first. They won't highlight the smoking, alcohol, and poor diet. Basically, they diet is actually at the optimum stage because they are having 6 meals in a day.
Yeah. So and the doctors will also tell you that oh, you must exercise more and shouldn't smoke. But I will tell you, give a data from the Lancet. They have found that the most important criteria, for poor health is a poor diet. That is a diet which does not suit you. That is more than the other 3 put together. So globally, a poor diet is responsible for more diseases like death and alcohol than physical activity, smoking and alcohol combined. Now, Somik, I have nothing against exercise. Exercise is a fantastic thing. It has got tons of benefits. But what is important to emphasize is that if you try to exercise away a faulty diet, it doesn't work. I mean, you cannot outdo or outrun a faulty, suppose you think that I will eat, a lot of sweets today and I will run 2 more rounds tomorrow. That is not going to work.
That doesn't work.
Because then your metabolism has gone wrong. So exercise can give you plenty of benefits once your diet is right. So I always say that if your 6 packs, they start in the kitchen, not in the gym. So once your kitchen is right.
I just want to add one point over here. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah.
Basically, people basically highlight a single statement that nutrition plays 80% and exercise 20% if you want to have 6-pack abs or if you want to have a good physique. But the fact is, I am completely, don't agree with this. Nutrition has its own 100% role. Okay.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to be healthy or remain healthy, basically, for that person, I always try to push that person towards the best nutrition.
Absolutely.
Because that's the most important thing to keep your homeostasis or to keep your internal system at the optimum stage. Workout or exercise, doing exercise, that's completely different thing, which has different functionality. That thing is actually for the overall enhancement of your daily basis activities functionality, your overall strength. That's a whole different thing. But nutrition has its own part, exercise has its own part. So that is why I always try to push my clients toward that only. First, you correct your nutrition, because if your nutrition is not correct, no matter how many repetitions of workout you do at the gym or at the home workout session, that will not going to work. And that is what actually happens at the end of the
day. Exactly. You will find that most people who are, working hard, they are actually trying to exercise very sincerely, but they don't understand why it is not working. So that the nutrition comes first and then exercise. And if you can combine the two properly, there's nothing like it. I'm sure you'll agree with me over that.
Right, definitely.
So, but if nutrition is such an important thing, it's a very sad thing that when we train as doctors, it is never a part in our curriculum. I mean, I don't remember a single class in nutrition other than a class on vitamins. So this is what has gone wrong with nutritional science. Food is something, if you take that, 3 million years, which I showed you, each species evolved with a particular type of food. And now what we are eating today has gone against our evolutionary science. It is a fact that everything in biology and it should be measured in terms of evolution. So we have basically a Stone Age body, because the bodies do not change over a period of 1,000 years. It takes, minimum 1 lakh years or even more to have a genetic change. So we have a Stone Age body and we are giving it a Space Age diet. Oh, by the way, that is the name of a book. That is why I have scored it. And, our nutritional advice, which we are giving to people, has a lot of misconception. Like these are the common misconception that you need to eat 3 meals and 3 snacks per day. All calories are the same. I mean, whether you eat an egg or a piece of cake, if both have same number of calories, the effect is the same. That is a misconception. Like eggs and meat will kill you. These are kind of people said this all over the years. Saturated fat will clog your arteries. Grains are heart healthy. To lose weight, you must eat less and exercise more. And this is a statement which is nothing can be further from the truth, I would say. Without understanding why we gain weight, people have just advised eat less and exercise more. Now, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I always say that, yes, as long as you don't have it. But we'll come to that later. It is the most important meal of the day, as long as you don't have it. Fasting is nothing but starvation. People are so scared of fasting.
Right.
And ketogenic diet, this is something we had to fight so hard. The moment you utter the word ketogenic, doctors also have a convulsion, because we are taught in our medical science that something known as diabetic ketoacidosis, which occurs only in uncontrolled blood sugar in a type 1 diabetes. So that thing has is so much
somehow that
biased or view.
ketoacidosis, that thing, and the ketogenic diet becomes the same.
Synonymous, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, the moment the word mention the word keto, the doctors will relate to that, unfortunately. So actually, it is totally different thing. We can discuss it later. It is a fantastic thing, the ketones. Maybe I'll mention it today again. So what has happened despite of all this? So these misconceptions is what has led to the increase in obesity in adults all over the world, including Asia. This is from WHO, and in India also. So just shot up after 1990. If you take this as 1990, where it started, it's just gone up dramatically. And we must analyze that despite of the good advice and the so-called, we all believe that Indian diet is very healthy. But what is happening is not helping us. So we need to rethink. That is what I'm trying to say. So we are trained as doctors, to give a pill for every ill. We tell cut out saturated fats. So
hats off to you, doc. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
That being a doctor, you are willing. It's like
yes,
it's
this
very
is
much
what
interesting. It's very much interesting the way you are clearly, smoothly you are giving all these statements. Seriously, hats off.
Shamik, this was my realization that a pill for every ill. What made me realize? I'll tell you why this has happened. See, in 1940s and 50s, we discovered antibiotics, right? So they worked like magic, and because there were germs, and we discovered penicillin and one or two more antibiotics, and modern medicine became everything, and we were like miracle healers. So when the metabolic diseases came along, so the same thing we tried to apply over there. So our our way of thinking, the approach was that it worked for germs, and we tried to find a medicine or a pill for every kind of metabolic disorder. So it just didn't work. So a disease or a disorder or something gone wrong due to faulty nutrition cannot be corrected by a pill.
True.
So that is what it is taking such a long time to realize. So it's really not working. So what if I told you that it is possible to be healthy and to be active and to be free of lifestyle diseases? It is, looking at today's population, which is so sick, this should come as a reassurance. It is possible. So actually, you must realize that your body is designed to be healthy over millions of years. The Homo sapiens, just before the discovery of agriculture, were perhaps the healthiest, I would say. They were known as Cro-Magnons, if you have heard the word. So these Cro-Magnons were nearly 7 foot or more tall. Their brain size was 1700 grams. Today, mind you, our brain size is less than 1500 grams. We have lost that much amount of brain after discovery of agriculture. So this, any anthropologist or historian will tell you this. So basically, our body is equipped with powerful healing mechanisms, which will self-correct most of the health problems if you provide it with the conditions it requires. All you need to do is to get out of the way. Most of the time, we are only standing, our beliefs, our faulty teaching is coming in the way of we becoming, healthy individuals. So our body is actually over a period of millions of years is designed to correct itself. You observe any animal, if you observe your pet animal or pet dog or pet cat, the moment it feels unhealthy, it will stop eating.
Right.
But we, keep on eating and keep on putting things in our body when we don't need it. So that is what. So what can you do? So, and what is the to become healthy, and what is the supporting data? No point talking or giving advice unless there is data to support it. As a professional, I would say that. So, are you as healthy can be, or how can you become as healthy can be? Now, let's get one thing out of the way. You must realize that medicine is not healthcare. Medicine is sick care. That is how modern medicine is. We are fantastic when it comes to acute healthcare. You know, somebody has trauma, accident, we can do an operation and cure him. Somebody has a heart attack, we can put in a stent and immediately and get him out. Whenever there is a medical emergency, we are actually like gods. But whenever there is a chronic disease, I think we have yet to understand why it has gone, where we have gone wrong. So that is, so medicine is not healthcare, I say. Medicine is sick care. Food is healthcare. So let's see how. So if you take food into consideration, there are two basic types of foods, you know, macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients, we will not consider micronutrients today because all these vitamins and minerals are present in the macronutrients if you eat properly, I would say. True. So there are three types of macronutrients: carbohydrates, protein, fat. This, I think, it's quite common knowledge. But what I want to focus on today is, out of these three macronutrients, what we have all learned in nutritional science, both doctors and nutritionists, is that there is something known as essential amino acids. Means proteins, about 9 out of the 18 or 20 amino acids we know, 9 are essential. Essential means something which our body cannot make on its own. It has to be taken from an outside source. And similarly, there are fatty acids, 3 of them, which body cannot manufacture. It has to be taken from outside. So this is the concept of essential. But there are no essential carbohydrates. So this is there are no essential carbohydrates. So this is something which we have read. You know, it is lying deep in our biochemistry textbooks, but something we forget as we go into clinical medicine. So in fact, it has been seen that the lower limit of dietary carbohydrate compatible with life apparently is 0. 0, mind you, provided adequate amount of protein and fat is consumed. So where does this actual guideline come from? I'll tell you. This statement was made by Dr. Zoe Harkombe. She is a PhD in nutritional science from UK, but the actual guideline comes from Institute of Medicine, which is the father of all guidelines in the USA. And the father of all guidelines, you will find, I say the mother of all surprises, that the lower, this is where it comes from. The lower limit is compatible with life is 0. So there are traditional populations which have a high fat, high protein diet containing only a minimal amount of carbohydrate for extended periods of time. And in some cases, you know, for a lifetime. So they do pretty well. So this is just a correlation that we actually do not need carbohydrates. So I would show you this particular, if you forget everything which I tell you today, just remember this picture, that this is 3 of our macronutrients. This is carbohydrate, this is protein, and this is fat. So look at how it affects our blood sugar. So if you eat carbohydrate, your blood sugar goes up just like that, you know.
Sudden spike.
Sudden spike. And then it comes down again. So that is another thing. And then, but if you eat proteins, it will go up, but not as fast as the carbohydrate. And if you eat fat, it hardly impacts the blood sugar. Now, other than the blood sugar, which you see on the left side, there is something written over here on the right side, which are dotted lines, which is known as the insulin. Now, this is the character which I am going to focus on. This, if your health is if the destruction of your health is a murder mystery, then insulin is the culprit, I would say. or not insulin. Like insulin is actually very much required in our body. Each and every cell has insulin receptor.
But the fact is, if you are abusing it, if you are abusing it with the excess consumption of the carbohydrate,
excess
then it becomes something wrong. But the fact is, we actually need it.
Yes. So excess of insulin. So what happens? The same thing almost. If you eat carbohydrates, or rather the pure ones, the sugary ones, there it goes up, and protein less and fat almost nothing. So this is what happens in a normal person. You can see this is the blood glucose level. You have a breakfast in the morning, for example. And most of us eat very carbohydrate like breakfast. People think say cornflakes and
oats,
milk and banana and a little bit of sugar, oats, they are very healthy, but they are purely carbo. Or even if you eat, luchi tarkari or roti sabji, whatever it is, and a little bit of sweets along with it. So that is a very, very high in carbohydrate and glucose. It causes a spike. And then what happens? You are normal. You're not yet a diabetic. A lot of insulin is secreted along with the blood sugar. So that brings down the blood sugar, and your sugar level crashes. So at 10:30 a.m. you feel again hungry. You feel hungry again. And then in the office, when something is available, it usually is, then again you eat something. So what happens is, when you are secreting so much of insulin, insulin is basically a hormone in our body which actually is a storage hormone. It stimulates fat storage. It blocks your fat burning, and it blocks your fat breakdown. So this is the crash which occurs, which keeps on, it triggers the hunger more and because of this high carbohydrate.
The cycle of hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. The vicious cycle goes on.
Right, exactly. So it keeps on, and if you are, at a later stage, it will be much more. So what happens throughout the day? If you have breakfast, and then you have a snack, then you have lunch, then you have another snack, then supper is, what is dinner you have, and then before going to bed you have something else. So what happens? Your insulin never touches the baseline. It keeps on, this is known as hyperinsulinemia, which keeps on being raised throughout the day. So this is what is the problem. Problem is not the normal insulin. Problem is the hyperinsulinemia. So what happens? If you, here is a concept known as carbohydrate tolerance. So some people can, eat more carbohydrates because their body is normal. And if you eat beyond your carbohydrate tolerance, so you release more and more insulin, and then your body becomes less sensitive to insulin, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. And hyperinsulinemia leads to something known as insulin resistance. So there, what happens is, it's something like this. So that insulin resistance, along with chronic inflammation, which is a part of the, if your body has excess of fat cells, mind you, they are inflamed. So, and you have excess body fat, you have inflammation, you have insulin resistance, which causes dyslipidemia, hypertension, is again a function of hyperinsulinemia, mind you. You got elevated fasting glucose. This leads to all the metabolic diseases which we were talking about. So this is what sets up your metabolic, unhealth, I would say, ill health. So, but what we see in daily life is, whenever a young person goes to a doctor for a checkup, say at the age of 25, you find the glucose is normal. But no one checks the fasting insulin. No one checks the insulin. So what happens is, the insulin may be high, sky high, and that this person may be not tolerating the amount of carbohydrate which he is taking. But the pancreas, poor pancreas, it's a very small organ, and in that organ there are some beta cells which manufacture the insulin. There is no islet of pancreas. So what happens is, this pancreas is manufacturing a lot of insulin, so to keep the glucose normal. So you are sent home saying that, oh, your glucose is fine, your HbA1c, which we measure, That is also fine. Don't have to worry. But you go after 5 years again, after 10 years. So this condition which I showed you can occur for decades. For decades, it can go on like this. So one day what happens, the amount of insulin which the pancreas manufactures, it fails to do because it has been exhausted. So by that time, what happens? The glucose level goes up. So that is when pre-diabetes or diabetes is diagnosed. So by the time, you have actually lost 10 years or even more of diagnosing the condition, because we have been focused only on glucose. So this has happened. So this is what happens. This is a vicious cycle. High insulin levels, increased glucose uptake, cells become full of glucose. You develop insulin resistance, and again that leads to more glucose, and it keeps on rotating. So basically, our focus is on the sugar. So because the focus is on the sugar, this is known as a glucose-centric view. We forgot the real culprit, which is the insulin. So now what is happening is, slowly scientific evidence is coming, and there are a lot of doctors, independent scientists, who are now trying to relate every metabolic chronic disease to the hyperinsulinemia. So it is as if it is a unifying theory for all metabolic diseases. Like we look at, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, low testosterone, thyroid, polycystic ovarian disease, even cancer as separate diseases, and we try to give a medicines for each. So no wonder it doesn't work, because we are not dealing with the real thing which is there but not visible to everybody. And that real thing is, the elephant in the room is insulin resistance.
Insulin resistance.
So this picture I have borrowed from Professor Benjamin Bickman. Must have heard of him. He's an insulin scientist. Amazing book and amazing professor. So
him.
What happens is, this is Professor Benjamin Bickman.
Right.
He has written a book, Why We Fall Sick.
Right.
So that is a very, very important book. So what happens is, this is the thing. So all these metabolic diseases have a common origin, which is insulin resistance. So if we address the insulin resistance, we would be addressing all these diseases at the root, and that would be the correct approach. And this is what mainstream medicine has missed, and this is what we are slowly coming to realize. But you know what? By the time it comes to our textbook, it will take years and years and years. I don't think we can wait. I don't think the millions of people who are suffering can afford to wait. So that is why, whatever you are doing and whatever I am doing is to spread this message so that it gets to people as soon as possible.
True.
So basically, this is the culprit. And even these scientists are saying that the process of healing virtually every major disease, from cancer to diabetes to heart disease, has its core one basic approach, that is, optimize your diet to improve your insulin sensitivity and bring down your insulin resistance. In fact, how long you are going to live and how long you are going to be healthy, that means your lifespan and your health span is regulated by insulin, and your lifespan and health span should be as much same as possible. It's no point suffering at the end of your life. You have to thrive. You just don't have to survive. You need to thrive. So, and that is the secret is here.
True.
So what happens in insulin resistance? So many things gone wrong. I will not go into the details today, but every cell in your body responds to insulin. It is normally, but chronically raised insulin are toxic.
Toxic, right.
So yes, toxic. So how do you have insulin resistance? So I have got a couple of questions here, and if you answer yes to any of these, you have insulin resistance. For example, do you constantly crave sugary or starchy food? I'm sure many people would say yes.
Yes, many people will say exactly right.
Because we are addicted to sugary foods right from our birth. From the gripe water which is given to the child, to the cereals, the Cerelac or whatever, and then onwards.
It goes on.
Yeah, it goes on and on and on and on. Every celebration, every occasion is celebrated with sugar.
Even the health
So
drinks, if you see the ingredient
oh
level,
my
the
God.
70% is made up of sugar only.
Yeah. So actually, sugar is said to be more addictive than even pethidine or other drugs which people take. Yes. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Sure.
Okay. So, so do you have fat around your belly? Have you been frustrated by failed attempts to lose weight with a low-fat diet? Do you have high blood pressure or sugar, high blood sugar? Do you have raised triglycerides? Do you have a fatty liver? So common nowadays, fatty liver. I've seen fatty liver even in small kids. Do you have patches of dark colored skin? You can see somewhere over here or folds of skin. Gout, even gout. Now, a family history of type 2 diabetes and a history of gestational diabetes or polycystic ovarian syndrome. So, any of these can be an indicator that you are having an abnormal amount of hyperinsulinemia in your body. And another question is, why is it so often undiagnosed? Because historically, what has happened is insulin is, whenever you think of insulin, you think of diabetes, nothing else. So it has been dumped into a diabetes family of diseases. And we have always focused on glucose. So, and moreover, actually blood glucose is very simple to measure. You just do a prick and it is just a measurement. But insulin used to be, previously used to be very difficult to measure because it requires an assay with radioactive substances and all. Nowadays it's easier, but still people do not ask for a fasting insulin. Okay, so having told you this, I would like to bring the attention of your viewers and everybody.
It's the most important.
That how, so today, we are going through perhaps the worst phase in our life, something which occurs once in 100 years or more, this pandemic, which is, destroying the lives of so many people. So how is your health and insulin resistance associated with this COVID-19 pandemic? So number one, I would focus once again on obesity. It has been found over and over again that people who do the worst are the people who are obese and the people who have excess amount of harmful fat in the body, the overfat. So most of the time, you will see that young people who are having, who are doing the worst in the pandemic, who have to go to the ICU, and the cytokine storm, which occurs most in the obese people. This is from last year, and this is from a couple of days back. In India also, we are finding the same problem. Obesity is making recovery very difficult for people. And if you look at the data, 40% of the patient in ICUs are obese. In our country, for example, if you take Hyderabad, for nearly half the women and 33% of the men are obese. In other cities also, the obesity data is the same. And obesity makes recovery from COVID-19 patients very difficult, as they have reduced lung capacity. And a person with obesity is far more vulnerable to COVID-19 and with other comorbidities. So, more in urban females. So I would like to add here the actual reason behind the fat, the excess of fat causing this dangerous thing. You must have heard, Shomik, that this coronavirus enters our body through the oral cavity, nasal cavity, and goes to the lungs and enters the lung cell alveoli through something known as ACE2 receptors.
Angiotensin converting enzyme.
Right, absolutely. So these receptors is the way how the virus enters the body.
The spike protein binds with that receptor.
Yeah. And then it starts multiplying. Now, what is not very well known is that the fat cells actually have a huge number of ACE2 receptors, 10 or 20 times more. The actual measurement has not been done, but a few people, Professor Benjamin Bickman also I've heard from, he said that. So what happens once it enters your fat cells and you have excess number of fat cells, so the immune response from them, or the hyperimmune response, which is known as the cytokine storm, is very vicious in these obese people. So that is your explanation. That is why obese people are very much prone to bad outcomes in the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you put on your metabolic glasses, as I say, and look at the pandemic, you will get the answer to the question that why it is occurring in young and healthy people. Why is it that you will very often hear that, oh, he was so young, he had no comorbidities. Why did it happen? Even doctors are puzzled. And sometimes even elderly people, they don't have anything. Sometimes they also come out. It's no doubt elderly people have a lot of comorbidities in our country, and that is why they also have a bad time.
And as you said, there are a lot of cases are undiagnosed as well. As you said, just a few minutes back.
Yeah. So undiagnosed comorbidities and undiagnosed fat cells. So that causes so much of problems. And this is the reason why I would like to focus on the obesity over and over again. So this paper is just to remind us that when you have excess of fat cells in your body is basically already on fire. It is already inflamed. Each and every fat cell which is there reduces your immunity. So basically, if you want, what is the vaccine all about? The vaccine is all about improving your immunity, right? So your natural immunity should be strong first. A vaccine cannot be a substitute for your natural immunity. Just like doing mindless exercise cannot be a substitute for eating right. A vaccine cannot be a complete immunity to already deranged immune system which you have developed by eating the wrong kind of wrong food. So actually obesity is the real killer. This has been reported, real killer behind COVID. So this has been reported over and over again. These are the studies, not going into the details. And this is a statement from Dr. Asim Malhotra, who is a cardiologist in the UK. Basically, he must be a third generation Indian over there. So he has said that India is particularly vulnerable, having a high prevalence of lifestyle related diseases. And he says that the elephant in the room is that already we have a very bad metabolic health due to hyperinsulinemia. And moreover, if you just eat right, maybe you can correct it also in a very short time. This is another aspect. So last year, what happened was when there was a lockdown all over the world, people took it as a holiday. And, they started, okay, we are at home, let us celebrate, let us eat, water, drink. And the food industry also promoted that. They advertised a lot of things. So this particular author, the BMJ journal, they came out against the food industry, saying that they are promoting this junk food, unhealthy food and drinks, and that has led to even poorer metabolic health in the population. So the toll of the morbidity and mortality from COVID-19 had this more apparent and urgent than ever. So, and if you have been eating this kind of food in the pandemic, when you're working from home, it's very easy to just keep on binging on snacks and drinks. And so this is, and you must have known from your friends also, almost everyone has said that I have put on weight during the pandemic. Now over these few months, I have put on a lot of weight.
It's everywhere. You can get to hear it.
All you have managed to do is you have kind of destroy your own health. So that is the warning these people have given and the experts have said. And so yes, this is another thing, that the most significant factor that determines blood glucose levels is the consumption of dietary carbohydrates and refined carbs and starches and simple sugar, which has gone up during the pandemic. And that has given rise to a more deadly outcomes,
Mm.
Once again, this is the inflammatory link. I'm not going to the detail. It's a very long paper. Diabetes, if the person has, it needs to be controlled very well. So this is a graphic extract of a Chinese study, which says that if your diabetes is poorly controlled, you will not be able to climb out of COVID-19 complication.
Mm.
If you are well-controlled diabetic, then maybe you'll be able to make it. So that was the study. Okay, so basically this is what it is. A comorbidity reduces your immunity and makes you more vulnerable to COVID-19. So I always say that the real pandemic is your deranged metabolic health and your impaired immunity. The virus is just riding on it. Actually, I say that virus is unmasking your metabolic health.
Very true.
So it is like,
100% agree.
So if you have good metabolic health, the virus will not have much of effect on you. It's a coronavirus. It's just like your Shordi Kashi, cold and cough virus.
I still remember last year I had COVID. So on the third day I was doing weightlifting. So that is my personal experience.
As you said that last year you had an attack of coronavirus, but nothing much happened. So for most people who are healthy metabolically, this is what happens. Nothing much happens other than a little bit of
mild
cough
fever,
and cold, maybe
cough and cold,
mild fever. Some people get away only with a loss of smell. That's all. Nothing much.
That happened with me as well. The smell and taste were gone. But the fact is, overall, if I talk about my health, I was not at all means like on the bed.
Okay, that's very good. So that is where your metabolic health has helped you, I think. So this is very important for everyone to remember that just blindly going for the vaccine is not the answer. A vaccine is not a miracle cure. A vaccine is just like it doesn't guarantee that you will not get the infection. It is like a seat belt which you put in your car. A seat belt will not guarantee that accidents will not occur. A seat belt will only make you a little more safer than you were without the seat belt. The trick is not to get into the accident. Trick is to drive carefully. So trick is to look at your health and drive your vehicle of health.
If there is no control on the accelerator and the brake, no matter how many seatbelts you wear or airbags you have in your car, that is not going to save them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very nicely put, Shumit. So that is how it is. So this is why it happens. So this is the understanding which we seem to have not give to the people. Okay. So I keep on coming back to this. If you give me more chances, I can expand on each of them and tell you why all these things can be prevented. How all these things can be prevented, and how medical science has gone wrong in dealing with this such important diseases. So it's time to take action. So what are the things I would suggest?
This is basically the advice for all the viewers. True, from your side.
Every people. So eat real food. Real food means what? Real food means whatever nature has made for you. Okay, you can also consider cereals and grains made in nature, but actually they were developed much later in our evolution. So one needs to be careful about eating rice and cereal, because as I told you, they are not the same as they were before, and we don't coat it around the protection of healthy saturated fat. So you take it and remember the fact that each of us has an individual carbohydrate tolerance limit. So as long as you are eating within that, so mind you, you will be kind of okay. You may not be in the best of health, but it's okay. But if you are eating above your carbohydrate tolerance limit, you will become metabolically unwell. Your insulin will start climbing up. Your sugars will start climbing up. That is when you know that you are exceeding your carbohydrate tolerance limit. So that is when you sort of bring it down and stop it. And absolutely avoid processed food and junk food. food. They have no place in your health. I know it is very difficult, easy to say and difficult to do, but this is what causes your health to deteriorate in the long run. Processed food has been implicated in so many metabolic disorders, so many things, including destroying your sperm count. So, so many things, not only your sugar, and it kind of affects almost every metabolic processes in the body. Not only that, this high serum insulin actually at the cellular level slows down the mitochondrial action. You realize what it means? It means your body processes slows down because of hyperinsulinemia. That is so tragic, so tragic. So, and this eating multiple meals throughout the day has to stop. You should eat real food. That means whatever is made, whatever you can buy and cook and eat, and you eat only once or twice a day, not more than that. Snacking should be avoided, absolutely avoided. Whenever you feel like you take a snack, that is not done. And all this advice cannot, if you take it as a desperate measure for improving your metabolic health during the pandemic, you can achieve a change in your immune status in as little as 21 days. Now, this was an entire book written by Dr. Asim Malhotra last year, how to improve your immunity in 21 days. So you can start right now. You can start with your dinner itself. And mind you, insulin resistance can not only be reversed, it can be reversed quickly. So as little as 21 days. And we have been facing this pandemic for more than a year. So there has been plenty of time to do it.
But the people actually so much overwhelmed with the discounts of the food delivery services. They are actually ordering it, and they are eating the outside junk foods and everything. So it will take another few decades.
I know the food industry is also there to make a profit. Whether you remain healthy or not, ultimately is your responsibility.
Exactly.
So that is the message which everyone should take.
True.
Your health is ultimately your responsibility.
True.
And how will you do it? By knowing this knowledge. You have to be armed with this knowledge.
Exactly.
And that is only how you are going to be.
People need to understand at the end of the day, you are doing it for yourself. It's like if you treat it, if you treat your health in the right way, you will be benefited only.
Yeah, sometimes the most common question which I get. So if I don't eat the rice and the dal and the grains and the rice, then doctor, what am I going to eat? So this is actually a slightly difficult question to answer because we are used to all these things. Because there are so many people, who actually do not eat junk food, who only eat the traditional Indian food. Still they are getting sick. It's very difficult to explain to them. But I sometimes tell them that the cost of becoming sick, becoming diabetic, ischemic heart disease, or some other disease, cancer maybe, is much more. So invest in your food.
True.
Eat well.
Otherwise, you have to invest it later on the medicines.
Exactly, on the medicine. So that is something which nobody can afford. And it has been, that the message has to go through. Otherwise, we will have more and more sick people around you. And our health system is not geared to handle this. You saw what is going on today. Our health system is not geared to handle this epidemic. And this is a much bigger epidemic. And the entire health system is going to collapse if these metabolic diseases go on increasing.
Exactly.
So you think these are diseases of the prosperous people? No. There was a huge study done in South India by the Lancet group and the BMJ group. They found that the rural population has diabetes, which is as much as the urban population. And do you know that they also reported that inability to afford medicines, especially insulin, is one of the main causes of farmer suicide. What a tragic thing. They cannot afford, they get diabetic and they cannot afford their medicines, because the government or whatever infrastructure health we have is not able to provide the medicines, and they cannot buy from the private health stores. So it's such a
real tragic.
So that is why this message has to go through.
Definitely, this is why we need to keep on doing this kind of, we have to spread this awareness, or we need this kind of campaigns to share, to spread as much as possible right awareness about nutrition, about food habit. And seriously, we need people like you, especially because the way you have clarified and cleared all these statements, it was really, really necessary. And I believe that all the viewers and the people with whom I'm going to share this video, they will definitely love it, especially the people of Bengal, because you belong from
I hope so. I say, I know Bengalis are very lucky. At least they have their mach mangsho and deem, which are very, very nutrient dense food. And I really have problems when I have to deal with a patient who are vegetarians. It is possible, not that it is not possible, but it is slightly more difficult. True. But for a Bengali, they should be twice blessed. They need not have to pass through the mind block of not eating animal.
But the main problem is with bhat, huge amount of rice.
Yeah. That has to be emphasized. That
people don't believe when I say like it's since 3 years or more than that I'm not having rice and neither roti conventionally. They think like how it's possible, how to maintain a body fat level of below 9%, means like continuously means I'm following it like more than 3.5 years. I'm having a body fat percentage below 10%, and I went up to 5% as well. So people don't believe, like they think I'm on something, I'm on gear, some performance enhancing drugs. That's a whole different subject.
No. It has been 10 years for me. You can tell them about.
Yeah. So right now, if they see you, if they watch this video, this conversation, they'll definitely think like a little bit out of the box. Okay, so this is reality. This is actually true. It happens. And if a doctor can do it, and if a doctor can share this much of information, because typically if you see, normally conventional doctors don't talk about all these things the way you have said today. So that is why it's very much necessary for the doctors as well to come up with this ideology or the facts that you have said today, because we need more doctors like you. We need more campaigns from the doctors as well, so spread the right information among the people. That is when we can actually that is how basically we can actually create a change. We can bring a change to solve the root cause of all the morbidities that we are actually going through, or we are actually seeing, or you as a doctor you are facing on a daily basis.
Yeah. Actually, with my personal experience, I'll tell you, even 5 years back, whatever patients used to get in the operating room used to have 1 or 2 comorbidities, the diabetes with hypertension. Today, within a span of 5 years, each patient which comes to the operating room has 4 comorbidities minimum. Hypertension, diabetes, thyroid, low thyroid, and allergies and something or the other, cancer. So this population has become sicker and sicker. So this is really, really alarming. And gallbladder, half the population have had their gallbladder removed.
Already out.
This is another thing which is linked to low carb, because that's a common thing. Let me tell you that your gallbladder is something in the body. It has been evolved millions of years, which is dedicated to fat. What do the bile do? It attacks the fat in your diet. And when you eat a low fat diet, the gallbladder doesn't work as it is supposed to do. It is supposed to contract. And that cause something, we call it stasis. So and that stasis causes the gallstone. There are papers in that. So this is once again a problem with this low fat diet. So this is the thing.
I believe that
And if I
during
want your audience,
in this lockdown, I believe that people have time. If they have time to cook some junks, then definitely they
yeah,
have time to
yeah,
watch completely an informative video, which is beneficial for the overall health. People should watch.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I always come back, say that take this picture in your memory. If you forget everything what I told you, remember this picture,
This is
so
enough.
that you know.
Mm.
Before putting any morsel of food in your mouth,
Mm.
just
Think about it.
think what it will do to my
Mm.
sugar,
Mm.
what it will do to my insulin.
Right.
Maybe that will stop you,
Right. Right.
and which will keep you healthy.
Mm. I made a video on the
Okay,
sugar as
so
well with Shashikant.
yeah,
Like it's actually a
yeah.
drug. It works like a
Absolutely.
drug. The withdrawal effects and all.
Yes,
So
it is. It
people,
is a
those who
drug. It is a
stop
drug.
eating rice, they actually starts craving for the sugar. So there is another thing
Yeah.
on which we can talk later on. Definitely.
Sure, sugar will talk very
Yeah.
much. One of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
Any of these you can
But
ask me.
really, it was really a great conversation, Dr. Tanmoy Das, and thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Sumi.
giving this
And
much amount of
if
time.
you have any, I'm there. Any questions you have further, you can ask me.
No, it means like
Regarding
the way you have completely provided the statements over the slides. I had some questions basically, but you have answered them all.
but got cleared.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
believe
that's
for the
nice to hear.
viewers as
That's nice to
well.
hear.
Yeah, I believe for the viewers as well, they have got ample amount of answers, like the things that they are actually facing, or the confusions they are actually having right now. So I believe that this video will clear the overall anxiousness or the anxiety that they are having, that how to get rid of COVID or how to stay safe in this COVID-19 lockdown.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so it was nice. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time.
No, it means like we can actually talk for several hours. This is our subject. We can actually talk no matter how long.
I know.
The fact is, for the viewers, it's
Never
very
ending.
much important to just give a first dose and then let's watch that how they react to this video. Then later on, we can definitely sit on talk on another subject.
Yeah, something more specific we can talk. So let this be a beginning.
Yeah.
Let this not be the end, I would say. So on that note, I think it has been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here.
And we'll continue the conversation.
Same, definitely. So as of now, we are actually shutting this conversation right now. Thank you so much again, Dr. Tanmoy Das. And really, it was an honor for me to have you on this Health Talks episode number 10. The Better Health. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I believe you have really liked this video. If you have really liked it, then do not forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe it and share this video as much as possible, because this is our responsibility to spread the right awareness among the people, to help them both physically and mentally. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Raj. Time to sign off. Take care of yourself, love yourself, stay fit, Shara, and be fit with Raj. Bye.